All right, folks, we are live. I want to welcome you to our webinar today, the Understanding Your Government Benefits 2025, the Lunch and Learn edition. My name is Justin Heatherly. I will be your presenter today. Looks like some folks are still trying to get on board. So while they're trying to connect, I'll go through a few housekeeping items. First, today's presentation is going to be about an hour. So this will be a 60-minute session, maybe a little bit over. But keep in mind, the information that we're going to discuss today is based on our 8-hour full day class. So I'm going to take as much information as we can from there and compact it into this 60-minute session. So it may feel like you're drinking through a fire hose, and that's okay because we're going to have so much information coming to you very quickly. This is part one. Part one is really to share with you how these benefits affect folks in a general manner. So we'll do a briefing like this, a webinar, a lunch and learn on site, maybe a full day class as a contract, and really share with you, this is what a federal employee is, this is what they can receive, this is how much they pay in the system, and so forth. But part two is to meet with you all one-on-one and really take a snapshot of where you're at and where you want to get to and how best you can navigate your way towards a early and comfortable and prosperous retirement. And so we're able to do that through what's called a personalized benefit summary report. It's basically your numbers, okay? The approach that we take is that there are no two lives that are the same, no two careers that are the same, no two retirements that are the same. And so because that's the case, we cannot take a cookie cutter approach to this. Everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. And that's why sometimes when you get advice, what we would call water cooler talk, that person or that other employee may be sharing with you what they've done, what worked for them, but they may be in a completely separate situation than you are. And if you took that advice, it may end up hurting you. Okay, so that's why we do this. The name of our company is CSE Capital Management. We are not a government entity. We are a private sector company that does retirement training for different agencies like Department of the Treasury, Department of Defense, EPA, IRS, you name it. I've probably done a briefing on site via webinar, or I've helped folks retire from that particular agency. A misconception about these types of webinars or briefings is that they are only for people that are soon to retire. Nothing can be further from the truth. The most common thing I hear after a briefing like this is, I wish somebody would have told me this sooner. So what that means is that these are for new hires, early career, mid-career, late career, and even retirees. Why would it be for a retiree? Because sometimes folks go into retirement, maybe they got bad advice from somebody who didn't know what they were talking about, or they did it themselves and made a mistake. Sometimes we need to make adjustments because things change in retirement, just like they change while you're working. So it looks like everybody's logged on here. So just a quick note, make sure you write down your questions, write down any pertinent information that you want to discuss when we'll meet one-on-one. That meeting will take place in the next week or two after this particular briefing. My schedule fills up very quickly. So when we're finished today, you'll be redirected to my calendar to get on there. And then my staff will reach out to you and they will get the info that we need to do our one-on-one session. Okay. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, welcome to the 2025 Understanding Your Government Benefits Lunch and Learn Edition, a simple guide to understanding and maximizing your government benefits. A little bit about our firm. We're based out of San Diego. We specialize in retirement planning, investment advisory, and insurance services for federal employees and their families. Even though we're based out of San Diego, I do have clients through the whole country. I'm probably licensed in 40 states, maybe. We've been creating value for well over 20 years. In fact, I've been in this business since 2001. So I guess 24 years ago. I'm definitely not the youngest person in the room anymore. Just some information about us. My middle name is Justin. My first name is Howard, but that's just a family name. I'm actually Howard the Fourth, but I'm the only living Howard still. And that name will pass with me because I have all girls. I have three daughters. Two of them work for me. So as you can see here to, uh, I guess my left or my right, depends how I'm looking at this. I have in the middle there, there's Jenna, and then all the way to the right there is Jordan. They're both graduates from Boise State University, which my youngest is currently attending. And they have been working with me for a number of years. Just some information about myself. These are a couple of designations I have: Chartered Federal Employee Benefit Consultant and Federal Retirement Consultant. I'm also the president of CSE Capital Management. And you can see my successors here. A couple of the agencies I've worked with, probably worked with just about every agency out there: Department of Defense, IRS, FBI, DEA, Secret Service, all those agencies that know where to find you. Customs and Border Patrol, Missile and Space Intelligence Center, or Command, and NASA, as well as private sector companies such as Sharp, SDG&E, Boeing, Roar, many others. I've counseled thousands of pre-retirees and retirees, and really with a focus on tax reduction in retirement income planning and preservation of principal concepts for risk reduction, stable growth, and predictable income throughout retirement. Okay, I'm really trying to be a safe money person, generating good returns. Born and raised in northern New Jersey. I'm married to my best friend for over 31 years, and I have three amazing girls, and I have 8 dogs, but don't tell anybody. And like I said, Jenna and Jordan both graduated from Boise State, and they are following in their dad's footsteps here. A couple disclosures here. The first one is just as a reminder to remember that what I'm sharing with you today is done in a generic sense. Okay, these are what's the federal system. These are some of the rules in the federal system. This is how they work. But it is be taken in a general manner, not to be taken as specific advice for your retirement planning, but also to not be taken specific investment advice. So I'm an investment advisor through WealthWatch Advisors. Okay, this is a large SEC registered firm based out of Colorado. And as a fiduciary, I always have to recommend what's in your best interest above my own. But during this presentation today, we'll talk about some investing concepts and so forth, but they're not to be taken as specific advice. Okay, those types of things will happen when we meet one-on-one. This is an example of our personalized benefit summary report. It's very similar to the GRB, if you will. It was there long before the GRB was. And the GRB, I think, is a good thing. I think it's sometimes confusing for folks. I do this every day for the past 24 years. And sometimes what the GRB is trying to convey to you, I'm confused by it, which, I mean, I can't imagine some of the employees looking at that. But nevertheless, this is the software that we use, and this will be the report that I will give you to help you make projections for a wonderful and prosperous retirement, hopefully. Okay, webinar topics. First thing we'll talk about is how long you're going to live. The different retirement plans, CSRS FERS, when you're eligible to retire, how to calculate your pension, the FERS supplement, which would be considered the Social Security bridge, Social Security review, TSP, life and health insurance, annual leave, and some retirement considerations. As we go forward, there will be times when I'll share with you what the facts are on things, and then sometimes I'm going to share with you what my opinion is. And my opinion is just not something I pull out of the air. It's based on experience and what I've seen, what I know, and what I've seen that works and what doesn't work. Okay, how long will you live? I guess if I truly knew that, I wouldn't be doing this anymore. But nevertheless, what we want to look at first is when folks are retiring, what would be the average life expectancy for that person if everything's status quo, meaning there's no major, terminal illness or what have you that's going on. So what we want to look at first is the average age for a federal employee to retire is between 60 and 62, which is very young. comparatively to the private sector. So let's look at somebody who's age 62. We have the average male should live about 22 years after 62, the average female almost 25 years after that. And as you can see, statistically, women live longer than men. Why that is, I have no idea. Maybe it's because women go to the doctor when they're not feeling well and guys try to tough it out. I don't know. But these are the numbers. And I'm a numbers person. And I believe if you give the numbers truthfully, they will give you truthful answers. Maybe that's why a lot of my clients are IRS people, numbers people. Okay, the different retirement systems. We're not going to spend a lot of time on CSRS, but I will talk about it as a comparative to what FERS is. Two retirement systems, old, new, CSRS, FERS. The old one was very simply a pension program. You worked for 30 years, let's say, when you retire, you get a pension to replace your income. Very, very straightforward. These are employees that were hired before 12/31/83. It's a defined pension plan only. You can get up to 80% of your high three. You do not pay into Social Security unless you're CSRS offset. If you're CSRS offset, make sure you let my staff know. You have TSP, but there's no matching. And you have survivor benefits from 0 all the way up to 55% of the full annuity. Now, in the mid 80s, see, it's very expensive to run a pension program. You have to maintain very high rates of return to maintain the funding, to maintain new money coming in, money going out for retirees and so forth. It can be very expensive. So what they did is they changed it. They said, okay, we're just not going to rely entirely on a pension program. Plus, we want more people paying into Social Security, and we want more people funding their own retirements. And so hence, this is what we have, FERS. FERS are employees that were hired after 1/1/84. It's a defined benefit plan. So you get a pension. It's about half of what CSRS would get. But they get full Social Security, and you get TSP up to 5% match. And your survivor benefits under FERS, you could take no survivor benefits. You could take 25 or 50, 50% of the full annuity. Now, a couple things about the two retirement systems. First things first, which retirement system's better? Very simply, if you're under FERS and you're not putting in the 5% to get the match, the old system's better. But if you are putting in the 5% or putting in a lot more than the 5%, I personally believe you have more control over your retirement. But nevertheless, now under survivor benefits under both programs, if you are married and you have the health insurance, when you retire, if your spouse is on your health insurance with you, let's say, you have to take some survivor benefits in order for them to keep their health insurance if you die. Okay? So under CSRS, you could take very minimal. I mean, you can pick all kinds of different numbers here. But under FERS, you only get 3 choices, 0, 25, or 50. So the minimum under FERS would be 25. The maximum would be 50. Your choices are pretty straightforward there. But you have to take some survivor benefits. So there is a survivor annuity for that spouse to pay the health insurance with. Okay? I've met with people, and your spouse has to agree to this via notary. And I used to be a notary because I was doing a lot of retirement applications. And if you take less than the maximum, they have to okay it via a notary. I can't tell you how many times I sat down with folks that said, you know what, we're not going to take any survivor benefits because you'll bring home more. I said, well, your spouse is going to lose your health insurance if you die. And the common answer I got was, I don't plan on dying. Okay, I'm not going to okay this because that is insane. You just don't know when you're going to pass. And then obviously it's not your problem anymore, but your spouse would be in trouble. You know, I'm just not going to okay that. So you got to take the minimum at least. Sometimes you need to be pretty blunt with folks. Now, under FERS, you need to understand something here. In funding the pension programs, or Social Security, I get these common questions is, hey, is Social Security going to be around? Is FERS going to be around? Are these pension programs going to be around? people are very afraid that the government or whomever is going to change things on their current system. What ends up happening here is this, is that where you see changes on these programs are new hires, new people coming in. Why? Because they don't know better. And it's not because someone's, not intelligent. It's just because they have nothing to compare it to. So when they come on as a new employee, hey, you're going to pay in this? Okay. If you don't want to pay that, then you don't want the job. I mean, it's up to you. So what you'll see here is this. You have your normal FERS employees from 1/1/87 to 12/31/2012. Okay. The total contributions for Social Security and FERS is 7%. Okay. Under FERS is 0.8%, and under Social Security is 6.2. You can see that right on your leave and earning. It'll say retirement or FERS, and the other one will say OASDI. That's the real name for Social Security, and we will talk more about that. So these employees pay into the system 7%. Under CSRS, they paid in 7. FERS employees that were hired in 2013, now they pay in 9.3%. So 2.3% more. So they're paying into FERS 3.1, the same amount into Social Security. That wasn't good enough. They changed it again. So 2014 to currently, until they change it again, 10.6%. See what they're doing? New hires. Paying 4.4 into FERS, 6.2 into Social Security. Okay. For the same benefits here as here. Same. You get the same stuff, but you pay in significantly more. Why? They need to maintain the funding. And what do? You change it on the new hires because they have nothing to compare it to. Unless they get hired and they talk to somebody hired earlier. So maybe a little bit too much information on that, but okay, when are you eligible? Under CSRS, it's pretty straightforward. Age 55 with 30, age 60 with 20, age 62 with 5. Any of those categories, you can retire with a full pension with no penalties. FERS, very similar. You have to meet your minimum retirement age with 30, so it's not 55 with 30. I'll come back to this slide. Here's your minimum retirement age based on when you were born. So let's say you're born 1970, your minimum retirement age is 57. So age 57 with 30, age 60 with 20, age 62 with 5. Any of those categories, retire with a full pension with no penalties. Now, can you retire outside of these categories? Yes. Let's say you have met your minimum retirement age, say it's 57, and you have 18 years. And I had somebody approach me years ago from the IRS. She said, like, I'm 58. My manager tried to put me in a headlock. I got to get out of here. At that point, I don't want to know anymore, except I'll help you. So you can retire minimum retirement age 10 to 29 years. That's what we call it, MRA 1029. You can retire, keep your health insurance, get a pension, so forth. Now, what's the catch? The catch is your pension's penalized 5% per year under age 62. Unless you have 20 years, then it's 5% per year, from age 60 to 62. So it's not as severe a penalty. Okay, but it's still there. So let's say, for instance, this person had 18 years and they retired at 58. Okay, so 5, 10, 15, 20. So their pension is penalized 20%. That's a permanent reduction. It does not go up when you hit 62 or whatever. Okay. Now, can you retire outside of those categories? Yes. You can be offered. The key word here is offered. It has to be an agency-wide offering or a job function offering under a VERA VSIP. As you know, the government loves their acronyms. So VERA is Voluntary Early Retirement Authority. VSIP is Voluntary Separation Incentive Payment. They both stand for early retirement. They have to be offered. The only difference between those two is that the VSIP will give you a lump sum to leave. So they'll offer you a VERA without the lump sum. You have to be age 50 with 20 years or any age with 25 years. You can't just say, hey, I've got a friend in HR. give me an early out. You can't do that. That'd be great, though, but you can't. Um, so they'll give you this Vara, you don't take it. They'll say, okay, well, let's make it a VSIP. Here's 25,000. Will you leave already? Some people do. Right. So you can retire outside the normal parameters. You just got to be careful in what you're doing and know what the catch may be. Okay, how do you calculate your pension? All right, first thing we need to look at is what's called the high three average. Now, I've been doing this a long time. I've heard the high five the whole time. The whole time it was like, oh, they're going to change it to the high five. It became so kind of common. We just said, yeah, they give you the high five out the door. It's always been the high three. It's still going to be the high three. Okay. The high three, what this means is it's got to be the highest 36 consecutive month pay was. Your base pay plus locality. No overtime, cash awards, bonuses. That doesn't count. It's your base pay plus locality, and it has to be over 36-month consecutive stretch. Most of the time, it's at the end of your career because you're going up the scale. Sometimes it could be in the middle. You worked in another location. It was a much higher pay. You went someplace else. It's based on the highest area. Misconception about this is, hey, I'm waiting to get a step increase or a promotion, and then I'm going to retire because I'll be a higher GS, let's say. But that's not going to do anything for you. You need to be at that pay for a period of time for it to make a difference. As you can see in the examples here, we have 9/1/2015 to 1/4, and we have this salary. There's not a set, hey, it's got to be 6 months for it to count. No, it's just the longer you're at the higher pay, the higher that the high three will be. Just the way it is. So I've seen where folks working lots of overtime, trying to get a higher high three, didn't change anything except the fact you're paying more in taxes probably. So we take the high three average. Then they take your length of creditable service time. That's your civil service time, military service, and unused sick pay. Used to not be able to add any of your sick pay. Now you can add it all, but you can only add full months, no partial months. Okay. So as you can see here, the example, civilian service, military service that they bought back, unused sick leave. The days are less than 30, they fall off. Oh my goodness, they're going to take away some day. It's not going to make any difference in your pension. Okay. It's just an easier calculation, quite frankly. So is it better to use your sick time or add it to your service time? I'm not going to directly answer that question, but there's a reason why they allow you to add it to your service time. And, for some folks I've met through the years that said, hey, I should have used my sick time instead of adding it to my service time. We could put that to bed real fast. Basically, we look at it this way. Your sick time was there if you needed it. If you didn't need it, it's probably a good thing. Just let them add it and let it go. Okay? Because I've met so many people through the years that did not have enough sick time. And they became leave without pay and lose their career. I mean, it was not good. Okay? So if that didn't happen to you, that's probably a good thing. Now, the calculating. Under CSRS, it's a three-part formula. You take your high three times 1.5 for the first 5 years, high three times 1.75 for the second 5 years, high three times 2% for years over 10. You got to add those together, divide by 12, and so forth. So you got 30 years. There's charts all over the place where it'll give you percentages for CSRS. 30 years is 56.25. You can max out under CSRS at 80%. And that maxes out at 41 years, 11 months. Okay. The only way you can add more time to your CSRS time is sick leave. You can add up to 2 years, which would give you 84%. In that case, sick leave adding may add a few bucks. Now, FERS is a lot easier. FERS is just 1%. Every year you work, it's 1%. So 1% times your high three times years and months of service. So this person's high three is 110,000 times 0.01, which is 1%. Times 30, their annual annuity is 33,000. Divided by 12, that's their monthly. I can't live on that. Yeah, I know about it. And nobody's expecting you to. Remember, you get your pension, Social Security, and TSP. You get three. Okay. In a perfect situation under FERS, each part of those three are meant to cover a third of your income. Now, if you're over age 62 and you have 20 years or more, is there anything different? Yes. The factor is 1.1% of your high three. So 1.1 times your high three times years and months of service, age 62, 110,000, everything's the same. Look, their pension is 36,300, 3,025 a month. Okay, it's 10% higher. All right. So now I have to tell the story. Many years ago, I was doing a private sector dinner seminar, and there was a lady there from the VA, and she said afterwards, "Hey, you're the guy that comes to the VA." I said, "Yeah, that's me." She goes, "I'm retiring from the VA this month." I said, "Congratulations, that's wonderful. Uh, how many years did you have?" She goes, "I have 33 years." So something like that. And I said, "Okay, well, I know I'm not supposed to ask, but what's your age?" She goes, "Well, I'll be 62 in 3 months." "So you're retiring this month?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, you need to move over," because she was sitting in a booth. So let me ask you a question, a couple of questions. One, are you sick? You have a terminal illness or something? She says, "No, I'm very healthy." I said, "Okay." Do you hate your job? Are you fear for your life at your job?" She says, "No, I'll miss my job." I said, "Okay." I'll tell you what, if you work 3 more months, your pension is going to be $480 more a month for the rest of your life, not including COLAs. You know what she said? "You don't know what you're talking about." Okay. I'll tell you what, I'll work the 3 months for you. You give me the $480 a month for the rest of my life. And of course, at that point, I must be telling the truth. And so I never heard from her again, but I know people. And they told me that she pulled her application and resubmitted it 3 months later. And I said, "What? Can you ask her why she did that?" And they did. And she said she did the math. Okay. So the moral of the story is if I can save you that and help you in that great of a capacity, can you say thank you or buy me an espresso or something? Anyway, no good deed, right? But she lives in infamy in my seminars. Anyway, so it can make a huge difference. Okay, first supplement, what we would call the Social Security bridge. So you retiring under FERS younger than 62, you're not eligible for Social Security. So this is the bridge to get you from retiring to 62. It's like a bridge. It's not called that, but I believe that's a great description for it. You get this from OPM, doesn't come from Social Security. It comes as part of your pension. All right. So how much will they give you? So what they do is they take the number 40 and they divide it into your federal years of service. And military time doesn't count. But so let's say this person has 30 years of FERS time. Divide 40 into 30, and you times that by their benefit at age 62. Okay. So 40 into 30 is 0.75. What's another way of saying 0.75 is 75%? 75% of what? 75% of their 62 benefit, which would be 1162.50 a month. And that comes on top of their pension. There you go. Okay. Now there's a catch with this bridge. Just like if you take Social Security early, if you go out and work and earn Social Security wages, you earn more than 23,400 this year, you will start to lose $1 for every $2 you go over. So if you're planning to work after you retire and you get this automatically, you can't turn it down. You need to do some planning for that because if you're just going to go out and work and get this, they're going to ask for some monies back. And it's not a pretty picture if you don't have it. Okay. So somebody asked me years ago from the DOD, they were like, "What if I worked for cash?" Can't believe that. Like some kind of tax cheat or something. Anyway, I'm not going to even answer that question, but nevertheless, it's Social Security earnings like W-2 or 1099 self-employed. Okay. It's not monies from your TSP, dividends, IRA withdrawals, none of that. It's Social Security driven earnings. you go out and work. All right, so let's talk about Social Security. The earliest age you can collect Social Security is 62. Your full retirement age, based on when you were born, is 60, 66, 67. The latest age is age 70. There's no reason to wait past age 70. In fact, they'll start to harass you to collect because there's no reason to wait. Okay. Surviving spouses can claim a survivor benefit as early as age 60. So what we call a widow benefit. Full retirement age varies depending on the year of birth. Now, you can make a case every which way to Sunday how to take Social Security. Take it early, take it late, break even, all this, that. Everybody's got their own idea on what to do. The one thing that stands out when you should not take Social Security is if you are still working and you are younger than your full age. Meaning if you're 62, 63, 64, and you're still working, probably don't take it because you have an earnings test. Okay, but if you're retired at 62, if you want to take it, you can take it. Now, if you've met your full retirement age, you can work and make as much money as you want, and there's no penalty. All right, some people bank it, some people wait. Everybody's got their own idea on this. Okay, full retirement ages. Now, if you take Social Security early, they'll have to pay you longer in theory. And so what that means is that they will reduce the amount that you would get. Okay, so let's look at this. This person's full retirement age is, year of birth is 1960 or later, makes them 67 at their full age. Okay, if they take their benefit at 62, they will get 70% of their full benefit. Okay, if their full retirement age is 66, they would get 75%. See, the game with Social Security is we'll pay you a lot more later if you delay it. But if you delay, and you never collect, who gets it? Well, maybe your spouse, but if you don't have a spouse, who gets it? Somebody you don't know. I mean, it stays in the system. You got to remember, Social Security's real name is OASDI, Old Age Survivor Disability Insurance. It's just an insurance plan if you get too old, get disabled, or die. That's it. All right. So what about all this money I paid in? Look, it's a tax. Social Security is a tax. And then do you pay taxes on it later again? Yep. So what does that make it? Double tax. So here we go. Single filer. If you make between 25,000 and 34,000 a year total, 50% of it will be taxed. If you make over 34,000, 85% of it will be taxed. Married filing jointly. Look, these numbers were like this before the inflation crisis. They never changed them. What that means is these numbers now comparatively are almost poverty levels. So what you need to plan on as a federal employee is 85% of it being taxed again. Well, why do you say that, Justin? You're just going to make too much money. You just need too much money to survive in this world. So you're going to need more than these thresholds because of how much stuff costs. Okay, TSP. We're going through stuff pretty quickly, but if you have more questions on Social Security and so forth, well, I'll answer all those when we meet together on our one-on-one. Okay, TSP, the one part of this whole thing you can control. Go figure. Now, sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. CSRS, no matching, but they can fund TSP. Both retirement systems, the age limit under age 50, you can put in 23,500 a year. Over age 50, you can put in 31,000. Same under FERS. Now, FERS, you get 5% matching. Well, what if I put in 3%? How much matching? No. Put in 5. Well, why? I want to put in less. You can do whatever you want, but you're going to leave free money on the table. So if you put in 3, they're not going to give you a 5% match. Okay, you'll get 4. Well, what about that other 1%? You got to put in 5 to get 5. So it's not even a debate. All right. Now, should I fund my TSP or an IRA? look, you can put in a heck of a lot more money into TSP than you can put in into an IRA. So what's going to grow faster? Plus the match. Okay. Now, make sure when you're contributing to TSP, you're doing it every pay period through the year. Because if you front load it, you will only get, let's say you front load all your contributions the first 6 months. You will only get 6 months of matching. You have to do it every pay period through the year to get all the match. Okay. Now, can you get access to your money while you're employed? Yeah, you can take out a loan. Great place to get a loan. 15-year home loan, 5-year general purpose loan. You pay yourself back the interest based on the G fund. You could do a hardship withdrawal. You got to qualify to get that. I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world to get. Or you can do an age-based in-service withdrawal. It's over folks over 59 and a half that are still working. Why would you want to do that? Number of reasons. One, if you need money. Two, if you want to start positioning your money into IRAs. Because you'll see as we go through TSP, the great thing about TSP is while you're working and the dollar cost averaging and to put money in every pay period, it's just not really built for retirement. So that's why people generally move money out into IRAs that are more retirement friendly. So I manage a lot of money for folks. I probably roll money from TSP just about every day. So, whenever you roll money out of TSP, you just got to be careful. Wherever you go, make sure it's something that TSP doesn't do. Okay. The worst thing you can do is roll it over to something exactly the same and then pay exorbitant fees. You could rest assured that advisor won't be around much longer. Nevertheless, so after retirement, you can do a full or partial withdrawal series of monthly payments, an annuity or combination of these. The different funds you have is you have the GFCSI. G is a government, a non-marketable U.S. Treasury issued by the U.S. government. It's only in the TSP. You cannot buy the G fund anywhere else. You have the F fund, which is a fixed income, like a bond index. C fund is like the S&P 500. Small cap is the S fund. The I fund is international. And then you have these life cycle funds. Life cycle funds, they will use GFCSI based on when you'll need the money. So if I don't need the money until the year 2060, it'll be all risky. If it's L income, it'll be mostly safe. Okay. And so they'll blend it for you based on when you need the money. So if you don't know what to do, I would just pick an L fund and kind of just stick with it. And honestly, as somebody who manages money, sometimes, well, most of the time, what you see, people just get in the way. Just make a strategy and then don't look at it again. Don't torture yourself. Especially today. I mean, I have to do it because I'm managing money. Today, terrible day in the market, but you just pick a strategy and stick with it. But nevertheless, you can move the monies around. You can do 2 transactions a month with the final one going to the G fund. Why did they put a cap on that? People were day trading instead of working. Here's the allocations, allocation examples of the L fund. L2065, you can see it's all pretty risky. As you get closer, the orange is getting bigger, which is the G fund, and the green is getting smaller, which is the C fund. I've seen folks that have a third in the C, third in the S, third in the I. I'm diversified. The CSI generally run together. So if one's up, the other ones are up. It's just the other ones are more volatile. So the C and the S will run together. But if the C fund's up 10, the S may be up 12. And you think, well, I'll just do the S fund. Hold on a second. If the C is down 10, the S will be down 12. So it's more volatile, it has a higher beta. Okay. When can you access your money? You used to be able to just do 2 withdrawals the total time. It was just ridiculous. But they changed that in 2019. Now you can do up to 4 in-service withdrawals every year. You used to be able to just do 1 for your career. And then after federal service, you can do unlimited withdrawals, but they must be 30 days apart, which is really a lot more friendly. Now, doing things with TSP in retirement. I'm going to share with you probably the most popular three things that people do with their TSPs. Number one, I'm just going to make withdrawals. I put the money in every pay period and so forth. I'm just going to withdraw monthly. It's just the reverse of what I did. I can't go wrong, right? Well, maybe. Okay. If you're just making withdrawals, remember this, that when you make a withdrawal per month from TSP, they will pull from every fund that you're in proportionally to send you the money. Is that a good thing or a bad thing or what? Well, it depends if you're in a bull or a bear market. Okay, so here we go. The blue employee right here retired in the year 2000. The green employee retired in the year 1990. Okay, so they both started with the same amount of money. They both made the same amount of withdrawals. They both got the same rate of return over 15 years, exactly the same rate of return. The blue employee started with 100, has 105 after 15 years. It worked. The green employee started with 100,000. After 15 years, they got 35. They're starting to think about how am I going to live just on Social Security and my pension now? Well, if they both earn the same rate of return, how's that even possible? It is. It's possible because it depends. This blue employee had a bull market early on. Okay. The green employee had a bear market early on. Okay. So what ended up happening here is they got hit early on and really didn't have enough to recover. This person made some good returns early on and then gave some money back afterwards. Slightly above what they started with. So it worked for them. So you just don't know. It's called sequence of returns risk. Okay, well, I won't put my money in any risky funds. I'll just pick the G fund. Okay. The G fund generally doesn't keep up with inflation, let alone inflation nowadays. They used to have what's called a rule of 4%. If you withdraw 4% from your retirement accounts, you should be able to not outlive it. Now it's 6, if not higher. The G fund's not going to give you 6, if even higher. It's not going to do it. So what do you do? Sometimes you can go in the private sector and then you can control where the funds are withdrawn from. It's a little different. So, but that's an example of what's called sequence of returns risk. You can pick a TSP annuity. What ends up happening is they send the money to MetLife. So Snoopy gets it. And they use what's called, MetLife's a good company. They use old school annuities, meaning annuitized with the letter Z. In my opinion, never put the letter Z in the word annuity. Why? You will annuitize it. You will put it to sleep. So picture your money having Z's coming up. It's to sleep. You won't get that money back. What do you mean? Here's an example. You give 400,000 to MetLife. They give you, here, this is what we're going to give you per month the rest of your life. If you live to 120, you'll get far more out than you ever put in. If you died in a year, it's over. What do you mean it's over? I mean, it's over. It's a single life annuity based on one life. Okay, well, I'm going to do a joint life thing because I got my spouse. Okay. You can do that, but you can never change it. Well, what do you mean? What if I needed a lump sum? Can I just dip into it? No, you annuitized the money. Okay. So what's your option? Well, if you want to do an annuity, there's plenty in the private sector. I do them all the time. You don't have to pick this one. It's just if you ask TSP for an annuity, they're going to refer you to MetLife. So that's how that works there. And then the third option is rolling monies to IRAs or a couple different IRAs. Well, you need to be careful though, because you got to make sure this IRA fits your needs and allows flexibility. This is so important because things will change in retirement, just like while you're working. And what are the risks or fees? I'm generally, if I move money from TSP, I'm moving it to something that TSP is not doing, that cannot do, which is kind of easy because there's lots of stuff in the private sector. But as a fiduciary, I got to do what's in your best interest. So rolling your money from, let's say the C fund, which is the S&P, rolling it to investment account that somebody's going to charge you 3% to manage, and they put you in an S&P 500 ETF. That's the same thing basically, and you're paying this fee. So you have to be careful on that. But honestly, I will make recommendations, but it's up to you what you want to do. Phases of life. What ends up happening here is usually what you want to do is during your accumulation period, you can take on risk. Why? Because you have time to get money back. Then you start to transition to more safety, and then at a little older age, you want to have income preservation, safety of your money. This is normal. What ends up happening? People end up leaving it fully in risk the whole time. Okay. And then, we have a market correction, you get hurt. Something comes very clear to me is when I had somebody I knew from the DoD that was going to retire in 2008. He had plenty of money in his TSP. He had all in the G fund, ready to retire. He got a new coworker that was a stock whiz. He didn't end up retiring until 2013 because he lost so much in the 2008 crisis. What are we doing taking on this risk? Look, if I can get 5 to 6% safe, great. If I can get but I want 7 and 8%. I want 8% return. Do you think that 2% between 6 to 8 is going to change your lifestyle any? No, it's not gonna. But if you took on risk because you want that extra 2%, let's say, and you lost 25%, do you think that'll change your lifestyle? Probably. Sometimes is the risk you're taking worth it? Is it really worth it? Up to you. Usually what I'll recommend is really to have your money set aside in different buckets. And this could be your TSP money or IRA money or money from the bank, even in some of these. But your income bucket really should be left alone to drive income for you with a nice increase for COLA and so forth. Then you have your growth bucket. Your growth bucket here is to replace the income bucket if you run through it, or replace some of your emergency bucket. Not to be really touched. This is to grow. I'm not touching that and dipping into that. Okay. And then you have your emergency bucket where if I have an emergency, I need funds. If you have these all together and you're getting income and you start making large withdrawals because you had emergencies or what have you, that is going to change your income. Keep the money separate. Okay, you get a nice 5 to 6% return here. You get a nice 8 to 10% return here. This probably give you a 2 to 3%. The money's in the right place when you need them. Okay. Something that's really popular now, because of the firm that I work through, is we're able to do what's called a structured note. And it's really a bond that pays an annual interest coupon off of the money. So the goal with your TSP money is to kind of live on the interest, right? I just want to live on the interest so I don't run out. Okay. This is right up that alley, so to speak. So this is a bond, and depends what the annual rate of return is, but it'll pay a monthly coupon off of it. So this is an example of somebody who put $200,000 into this note. Let's say it's a 12-month note, and it pays 14%. Right now, they're a little bit higher than that, but let's say it pays 14%. So here you go, 2153 every month. Okay. And then when the note's over, you get back your 200,000 and you kept all the interest that you got, and you do a new one, let's say. Now, the only catch really with these notes is if the market went down 31% or more in one month, you would not get the coupon that month. But as soon as it came back above it, you'd get your coupon back again. That's that. The other catch is at the end of the period. So usually these bonds we're doing right now are 5-year bonds. Then you usually get called early, like after about a year or so. But the other catch is if the market's down 31% or more at maturity, you could realize that loss. But the chances of that happening is very low. I mean, The market went down 10% and everyone's losing their mind. 31% or more? It's almost is more than, COVID and 2008 and all that. So this is a really popular instrument. We're able to get this rate of return because we can pool together a lot of money to do so. And this is an example on the report that we'll give you on, it's really a visual to show you that, hey, not everything lasts forever. The turquoise is your Social Security. The light blue is your FERS. And in theory, those will go the rest of your life with a COLA. The dark blue is your TSP. If you use it up too quickly or make mistakes with it, let's say, what ends up happening? You run out. And now my income goes from up here to down here. And now that's really, really not a good place to be. At this point, you're starting to think about, hey, can I still go back to work? That's not the type of thinking we need to have in retirement. If you want to go back to work in retirement, it's because you want to. The whole goal when I'm working with folks is really, hey, I want you to have decisions because you want to do things, not because you have to. Okay. So, but I put this in here as just, hey, this can run out. We have to be careful with this. Required minimum distribution. Okay, this is on pre-tax money. Uncle Sam wants his taxes. So you've been pre-taxing this money for so many years, and it used to be at 70 and a half. It was, hey, you have to start making withdrawals from it if you're retired. And it was nice and easy. But of course, when the government gets involved, they make things simpler, right? No, not far from it. So they've changed it. They changed it to 72. Then it went to 73 if you're born after December 31st, 1950. If you're born after December 31st, 1957, and beginning in the year 2033, the RMD will be 75, and so forth, making it much more complex than it used to be. But I don't know, are they hoping for mistakes to be made and people not to do it? Because the penalty if you don't do it is 50%. So if you should have withdrawn 10% or 10,000, if you didn't do it and get caught, it's a $5,000 penalty. So you can kiss the whole distribution pretty much goodbye. Okay. So when should you make your RMD, required minimum distribution? When it's required. Just another example, just another picture to remind you of sign up at the end for the benefit summary report so I can show you how these all these benefits work in your situation. Life and health insurance. Okay. Life insurance is probably one of the most complex things in the federal system, and it's very misunderstood because people think that overall it just gets super expensive. It's not the case. Only one part of it gets expensive. Okay. So let's talk about the different parts. First, you have your basic. Your basic is your annual basic pay rounded up to the next 1,000 plus 2,000. You pay 2/3, the government pays 1/3 of the cost. It's wonderful. Okay. Has an accidental death benefit rider on there. It pays out double. And it also has a living benefit, meaning if you have less than 9 months to live, they will give you the basic insurance as a lump sum. It's a great plan. And the basic benefit, the cost for this per 1,000 does not increase your whole career. Well, why is it going up on my leave and earnings statement? Because you got a raise. You have more thousands now. Okay. Option A is just straight up 10,000. That's it. Now, you can't have any of the optional unless you have the basic. So for talking, you said, I just have option A. I don't have anything else. You have basic and option A probably. Okay. Option A is 10,000, has a accidental rider on there as well. You pay the full cost. It goes up every 5 years. It's very inexpensive. It's a nice plan. Why is it 10,000? Because in the mid 1950s, when they came up with this stuff, that was the cost for the average home in the U.S. Things have changed a lot, huh? They still keep it in there. Option B, okay, the killer B, if you will. Option B is up to 5 times your basic pay. So when you hear folks say, I have 5 multiples, that's it, option B. This is by far the most expensive part of it. Okay. Early on in life, it's pretty inexpensive. But once you hit 50, 55, 60, starts to really jump. Okay. Every 5 years, it'll increase in cost. Okay. You pay the full cost. This is where you'll have the most insurance, but it is the only part of your insurance through the life insurance through the government that you should ever consider replacing in the private sector. See, if you've got good enough health, you can go in the private sector and get an individual policy for five multiples, if not more, for less than what you're paying here. Why? Because you proved you're in good health. And this plan is a group plan, meaning they insure the sick, the healthy, smokers, cancer, all that. So it's extremely much more expensive than a private plan would be. If you cannot get a private plan because you have a health problem or what have you, that is the best one you can do. Okay. So that is the only one that I would ever consider helping somebody to replace. I've been a life insurance agent for 24 years. You cannot beat the basic option A and option C in the private sector. Option B, you can blow out of the water if you've got good health. Okay. Option C, okay. Basic option A, option B is on the employee for their beneficiary. Option C is on their employee's family for them. So their spouse can be insured 5,000 to 25,000, and their children can be insured 2,500 to 12,500. Now, the children come off after age 22. It's not 26, it's 22. Okay. Most common mistake I see with option C is the kids are grown and the person's divorced and they're still paying for it. There's nobody to insure, but they'll still withdraw the money. So you just got to be on top of this. Okay. If the kids all get above 22, they just come off of it. It's the same cost. You don't have to make an adjustment. Okay. So this is a great, nice plan. You ever take a piece of gum and stretch it? What happens when you stretch it? Becomes thinner and thinner and looks like less and less and less. And then you bring it back together. It's a bigger piece of gum. Why do I say that? Because the more we spread something out, the less it looks. This is how it's presented on your leave and earnings statement. We budget everything. We're conditioned really to budget things on a monthly basis. What's my monthly mortgage payment? What's that monthly car payment? Can I pay that? So forth. How do you pay this? Biweekly, 26 pay periods. And it's broken up on your leave and earnings statement between basic and optional. So see how they're spreading it out? Now, when we put it together and you see what the monthly amount is, and you have option B and you hit age 50 or 55 or 60, you'll probably be shocked at how much you're spending. Okay. I saw somebody at NASA, was it, in Alabama, 1,500 a month. Had no idea. You just don't know. You've just been doing it for so many years. You don't pay any attention to it. Next thing you know, it's like out of control. But it is only the option B. And one last thing about this. If you have an insurance agent in your life, Allstate, State Farm, whatever, hey, you're a federal employee, they're always looking to sell life insurance. And they're never good at it, in my opinion. So they'll say, hey, you're a federal employee. Oh, cancel all your life insurance and get one with us. If anybody ever tells you that, please tell them no, thank you. Okay, because you should not cancel the basic option A and option C because you can take these into retirement and they're free. It's the best insurance is free, right? So, but you also get what you pay for. So in retirement, you can take your basic, look, you can waive all this and get rid of it all if you want to. I don't know why, but you can. I'm sure why you would do that unless, if your beneficiary is, a cat or something. But if you've been paying on it for so many years, just keep it. And, nevertheless. So you're into retirement is probably the most common question that I get is how to fill this stuff out. So you can waive it altogether. On your basic, you can take a 75% reduction, 50% reduction, or you can keep it all. Okay. What do I mean by reduction? After age 65, if you take a reduction, it will start to reduce. If you take 75%, that means at age 65, there's no cost, but it will start going down 2% every month. I'll show you in the next slide. 50% starts to reduce at 65, but there's still a cost. If you keep it at the full amount, it'll probably cost you a couple $100 a month. But you can make one change in retirement with your basic. You can take from no reduction to 75%. You can still do that. Why? Because you can cancel this insurance at any time. Adding it is a different story. Okay. And most insurance companies would be okay if you canceled your insurance because then they made their money. But nevertheless, you can keep your basic in those ways. Option A, you can either get rid of it, which if you have it, I'd still keep it. But it will reduce by 75% no matter what. It goes from 10,000 to 2,500 over 5 years. Option B, waive it. You can keep the full. You can keep it at no reduction, which is, wow. After age 80, I think it'd probably be more than your annuity payment. But anyway, you could take it as a full reduction, meaning at age 65, then it's free. And option C, you can waive it, keep no reduction or full reduction. So these two top ones can reduce by 75%. The two bottom ones you could reduce to 0. So here's an example of that reduction. So this person retired at age 60. They took full reductions on everything, 75%, and then full at age 65. See? Now it's free. 69 in 3 months is where it levels off. They went from 414,000 to 19,750. Still something. So, but that's how this reduction works. This chart really says a lot. So, health insurance. Okay. Without getting into too much about the health insurance, a very important part of this is that you must have it for 5 years before you retire. The employee must be enrolled in FEHB for 5 years before they retire and retire in an immediate annuity. Okay. Does your spouse need to be enrolled the whole time? No, just you. Okay. Dental and vision, you don't need to keep it for 5 years before you retire. You can add it later. Life insurance, 5 years before you retire as well. Now, when you're in retirement, okay, let's say you're still working and you hit 65. What do? You need to enroll in Part A on Medicare. It's hospitalization, it's free, enroll. Okay. Now, into retirement, when you hit age 65, they want you to enroll in Part B for the medical insurance and then keep your FEHB as the supplement. Because Medicare will have periods of time where it doesn't cover things or some things it doesn't cover, and you need to have a supplement to fill those what we would call donut holes and work as a supplement to kind of fill in the gaps that Medicare will leave you with. You need to have a supplement. The best supplement for a federal employee is their FEHB. Well, I can go and get so-and-so for cheaper a month, and remember what I said a little bit ago, you get what you pay for. It's very important with this. If the Medicare supplemental plans in the private sector were better than your FEHB with Medicare, I would do them. I would give them to folks. I have a license to do it, but I have never done one. Why? Because your best bet is your FEHB. I had a personal client actually, she got a Medicare supplement outside and was going to cancel her FEHB. I mean, I think she completely forgot what we talked about. I got her before she did it. But man, that doesn't happen for everybody. So you have Part A and Part B after age 65. The premium for Part B is $185 right now. That's 2025 supposed to, but it's $185. And then you pay your FEHB costs on top of that too. Some people don't take Part B. It's up to them. So Part C you don't need, Part D you don't need because you have the FEHB program. Annual leave. Annual leave is a little different than your sick leave. Annual leave, they will pay you as a lump sum. and it's taxable in the year you receive it. So if you retire at the end of the year, okay, the first check you'll get in January is your annual leave, and it's taxable that year. And why would you want that other than wanting money? Because you're going to need it, because you need a bit of a bridge while they process you out. You'll get interim checks in the meantime. I'll show you, but you can carry your full 448 to 1231 and then retire, and you'll get a check for all these hours. Right? And it's taxable, but some retirement considerations here. 30 to 45 days after retirement, you get your annual leave. Amounts taxable in your year it's received. 1 to 3 months after retirement, you get interim checks. They'll give you about 60 to 80% of the full. Okay, and then in months 2 through 9, you'll get an adjudicated check. The amounts held back will not usually be paid with interest. But here's the thing, while you're getting the interim checks, they're not paying your health insurance. You're not going to lose it, but they will take that shortage and they'll go back and pay it. So you're not going to get a huge windfall through this. But you really need to make plans for getting these fluctuating payments. It may take them, depending on your situation and when you turned in your paperwork, it may take them a while to process you out. You want to have your application in 60 to 90 days before you retire. And a very important thing, you always want to retire at the last day of the month if you're FERS. FERS, the last day of the month. Well, what if the pay period goes to the second? Great. Retire at the end of the month. Why? Because your pension begins on the first of every month. So if you go into a pay period that goes to the second, let's say, you will lose a month's pension. Let's say your pension's $5,000 a month. That just cost you $5,000 to do so. So always retire at the end of the month under FERS. Under CSRS, it's the end of the month or the first 3 days the next month. Okay. But most, if not all of you watching this are FERS. So the end of the month. So where do we go from here? Once we're finished, you'll be redirected to my calendar. Make sure you get on that. My staff will reach out to you, get the info that we need to run the report, and they will reach out to you either email, call, text. Then make sure you schedule that time. My schedule fills up really fast. Okay, I've got over 2,000 clients. I mean, there's just a lot to do every day. But here's the thing, when I do a class, I usually set apart the next week or two afterwards for the folks from the class. Why? Because the information is fresh. Your questions are fresh, the information's fresh. The longer that you go without doing that and scheduling, the more you will forget. Okay? And then we, try to go back and to do stuff. It just creates a lot more work for us both. So get on there quickly, and then we'll meet either Zoom, on the phone, in person, you name it. Okay. In person, if you're in Southern California, or if I'm in your neck of the woods. Okay. Another example of the benefit summary report that we'll give you, projected monthly incomes, talk about tax withholdings, all that stuff. And that is about it. So after this, you're going to be redirected to my calendar. If you want to take a quick snapshot of here, our emails are justin@csbenefits.net, not .com. Jenna@csbenefits.net, and Jordan, all the J's there. Pretty soon will be Jessica there too, my youngest. But and we're based out of San Diego. That's our phone number there. That's our website. And if you want more information about us or more information about the retirement system or forms and resources, we have all that stuff on our website. Okay. So make sure you get scheduled, make sure you get on the calendar, and then we will meet soon and we'll be able to take part 1, part 2, and put them together and be able to take care of you. And keep in mind, we do not charge the employees to help them. We just don't. People would complain if you charge them $50 to plan the rest of their life. $50, I can do it myself. Anyway, that's the value proposition here. So anyway, have a great day. Thanks so much for joining us today. Sorry it went so fast, but we're here to help, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.